Tanya, Noor's mom. So today I'm going to be speaking to you all about how to set up a Montessori shelf. So a Montessori shelf is a very key part of the Montessori prepared environment that I've spoken earlier in my previous video about Montessori education. So Montessori shelf looks like this, or it can even look like this. It basically is a low shelf that is open on which activities or toys are kept for the child. It is based on the Montessori principle of order, independence and choice. So before 6 years of age, children have a sense of order developing in them. They like when everything is properly organized and in order. Children exactly know where they are likely to find something. There's a high probability they will go and do that activity. The Montessori shelf also promotes independence. So like we all know, children love to be independent and mimic adults and copy them. So children like the fact that they can go and make the choice of whatever toy they like. So that making choices is also helping develop problem solving and decision making skills. That is why Montessori shelf is a very important part of the Montessori prepared environment. So I set up the Montessori shelf and a proper prepared environment for Noor when she was around 13 months old, because that was the time I felt it was the right time, considering the feasibility at home, the logistics, the availability of space and her stage of development. So I thought that when she is able to walk, do a few things herself and is starting to show interest in learning and activities, so that is the time I should set up a proper environment for her with the Montessori shelf. So come, let me show you how you can set up a Montessori shelf for your baby or child. So this is Noor's Montessori shelf. I have purchased it from IKEA. So this is a cubed shelf, like you can see there are 8 cubes in it. But you need not necessarily buy this specifically. Montessori shelves can be of various varieties. It can be something like cubes like this. There can be 6 cubes or 8 cubes, or if there are no cubes, it can be absolutely flat. The basis is that it should be open and accessible to the child. So number one is that it should be low in height as per the child's height. So if your child is under 2 years of age, it can be around 16 to 18 inches. And if the child is 2 years plus, then it can be around 24 inches. Then it should have rounded edges so that the child doesn't get hurt. It should be absolutely open and accessible to the child. Even if the child is in the crawling stage, he can crawl and pull or get the activity or toy from beneath. This is the basic of a Montessori shelf, and how you set it up is that there are some rules that you need to keep in mind. So the number one rule is that it should be neatly organized. There should be proper gap between each toy or activity that you are putting on it. So since I already have cubes here, my partitions are creating that gap. But if you don't have a cubed shelf and you have a flat shelf, then you should have adequate gap between each activity. Next, about setting it up. So each cube here or your shelf should have limited activities. So around 6 to 8 activities should be there on your shelf. So because I have an 8 cube Montessori shelf here, I have put one activity in one shelf. There are a few things on the top as well, but that is for aesthetics also. And sometimes when she gets bored of this, that is why I have those there. But the basic funda is that you should have around 6 to 8 activities in your Montessori shelf, and each activity should focus only on one skill of the child. Too many skills in one activity, the child is not able to focus. So if you want your child to focus, each activity should focus only on one skill, and that is how Montessori toys are made. Montessori toys are made in a way that they only focus it on one skill at a time. Also, don't kind of crowd the Montessori shelf. So here in this particular cube, I just have a basket of small farm animals, and I have a lot of space in the cube, but still I did not put any other thing here because it would have distracted her focus. The limited the choices, the more likely the child is going to go and pick up the activity he likes. The more choices you give, the more distracted the child will be. You should set up the toys in the Montessori shelf as per your child's age and stage of development. So if your child is near the pencil grasp, if he's just become a year old, then you should focus on activities that focus on the pencil grasp or stacking skills, hand-eye coordination, and so on and so forth. Rotate the child's activities on the shelf periodically. At least after every week you should change the activities, because otherwise the child will get bored of them and soon he will lose interest and he will stop using any of these. So it's good to shuffle them up. And so if I have these activities one week, so next week I will take away the activities that she was not playing with or not interested in, and I will replace them with other ones, new ones that might interest her. The toys the child did not show interest in earlier, you can keep them away for 1 or 2 weeks and get them in again later. There's a chance that, at that time your child might have developed interest in them and might start using them. But there's no hard and fast rule. You should not pressurize your child. Every child is different and his stage of development is also different. Next, in Montessori shelves, if you have any kind of activities that have separate pieces, like here you see, this is a puzzle which has separate pieces. Here is a stacker. Then here is a shape sorter. So you always have to keep the activity unassembled. Basically, you don't have to keep I will not keep the stacker like this. Why? Because if the activity is already put in place, the child will not get any motivation to go and put those back in. So if you leave these pieces unassembled, undone, and just like that, it will attract the child more to come and put them in. You can also keep books in the Montessori shelf. So right now I have not kept any books here because we have a dedicated bookshelf separately for Noor. But if you do not have it, then you can even dedicate one whole block to books. Also, another thing that you must know is that, like I mentioned in my previous video on Montessori education, there should be a workspace for the child. So, since this is the area where all the activities are kept for the toy, this is the work, right? This is the work that the child has to do. But where will he go and do it? So, that is why I have placed this mat here. So, for Noor, this mat is the workspace. So, if she wants to do any activity, she gets it from here and she will keep it on the mat first and then start doing it. Or if she wants to read a book, she will get it out, put it on the mat and do it. So, you can either have a mat here, or you can have a child-sized chair or table. So, whatever you do, decide. But there should be a workspace also near the Montessori shelf. Another thing that you should keep in mind while using the Montessori shelf is preparation. So, whenever you're teaching your child or showing an activity for the first time, then you need to show them how to use it. So, presentation is very, very important here. So, what you do is you get out a tray like this one, get it on the child's workspace, get the activity out of the tray, show the child how to do the activity, right? Once the activity is done, show the child that you're putting things back on the tray and then picking it up, walking and going back to the shelf and keeping it. So this will actually promote order and organization. So the child will learn that after doing an activity, he has to clear up the area also. So a child less than 2 years might not understand this, but if you keep on modeling this behavior, it will soon come in. You must have noticed that I have put activities in trays here. So there is a reason behind this. Trays keep things organized in a better way and they actually promote order, and it also helps the child to carry those activities from the shelf to the workspace. So if an activity has a lot of pieces, the child will take so much time to carry one piece at a time. So if it's in a tray, the child can easily pick up the whole tray like this and walk up to his chair or his mat or wherever and use them. So trays are very, very important. They usually Montessori has wooden trays, but you can use any kind of